let's just get the brain surgery done. Let's just get the radiation treatment done so that I can get on with my life. Like I want to get
Sure.
back to my Ironman. I need to get back to my business. Like I had all my plans set in place.
Right.
But my body just kept changing, getting weaker.
Welcome to Never Too Late, Real Stories of Reinvention. I'm Eric Cooter, and on each episode of NTL, I sit down with people who've taken a leap, changed direction, or found meaning in unexpected ways. These are stories of hope, resilience, and courage. And these stories remind each of us that no matter where we are in life, it's never too late to start over and begin again. Well, listeners, it's good to have you back on the podcast. Today, I am so honored to be joined by Risa August. Risa is the author of The Road Unpaved, and she has so many other things going on. I'll let her tell a lot about her story. But The Road Unpaved is a memoir born out of profound disruption, illness, loss, and ultimately transformation. I'm borrowing on this from probably your website or from Amazon. Risa's story begins with a diagnosis of a rare disease, followed by a major surgery, and then the unraveling of a marriage, and all while she is trying to make sense of what is happening with her body and life that probably no longer felt familiar after that. But what followed after that was Reese's bold and unlikely decision to do something I could never imagine doing. I'll let her tell about an amazing bicycle journey she made. And this is in a conversation with Risa to give her space to talk about the struggles had and how she's overcome those and how she's living life new and encouraging others. So, how was that, Risa? Was that pretty close?
That's fabulous. Thank you for making me sound so fabulous.
You are fabulous. You are fabulous. So, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I cannot wait to have this conversation. We had a chance to, what I always try to do is meet with my guests in advance just to get to know one another. And when I heard about your story, I was like, oh, you got to be a guest on the podcast. So, I'm so glad you're here.
I am too. And, it's so fun um, connecting with someone else who has kind of been on a similar journey as far as reinvention and like, not holding back in life.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have such an inspiring story yourself. So thank you
Well,
so
thank
much for
you.
having me. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Risa, I was going to ask you, you had such a profound illness that you experienced, and we'll get to that. I wanted you to tell a little bit about that story, but that seems to be kind of a marker for you in life that kind of changed your life quite a bit, as it should have, as I'm sure it did. But before that, can you tell us a little bit about your life, what you did, a little bit about your work and who you were, and then we'll kind of jump into whatever else you'd like to share.
Sure. I love talking about this, who I was before this big turning point and pivot in my life, but because I'm such a different person now. But I was running someone else's company. I was very rigid in my lifestyle. I was an Ironman athlete. I had a beautiful home in the mountains. I was married to who's my now ex-husband, and we had two dogs, and it was the life I always thought I wanted. And but with that rigidity of my life and that routine, my thinking was that way as well. It's just very rigid in my thinking, and um, maybe had a more closed view of the world than I thought I did.
Mhm.
And and I guess that's a really important piece for me because, like I said, I'm now a very different person.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's amazing how sometimes, I say amazing. It's interesting how um, we can be so layered in who we are. We start out a life down a path thinking we're going to go a specific way, and then something happens, and next thing you know, maybe in a year or 6 months, we're not the same people that we were. And sometimes life is better, sometimes it's tough, but And sometimes those moments actually open the door for us to express our lives in ways that we never thought even possible. So,
Oh,
yeah,
it's so true. It's so true.
yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about the you had a rare pituitary disease that you were was unexpected, right? Is that true?
Yeah, so I had just in 2011 I just finished my first Ironman race, and it was about the year after a friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm doing this 500-mile bike ride around Oregon. Do you want to go with me?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I'm in." And so I go on this bike ride with her, but it was kind of at that point I started noticing my body wasn't quite operating the way it used to. I just was struggling to on the rides and struggling to recover for the next day. In the
Hmm.
meantime, within a short span between my Ironman race and that bike ride, I put on 40 pounds despite
Wow.
being very rigid in my diet and exercise. And so over a 7 year period, from that point on, over a 7 year period, my body continued to change. But every time I went to the doctor, I kept being told, there's nothing wrong with you. That
Oh
you're
my.
fine. Your
Hmm.
blood work's fine. You're an athlete. We're not worried. But I had some pretty clear to a doctor, obvious changes, and I kept being dismissed. And so it came down to severe, severe headaches that just wouldn't go away. And my doctor still said, "Well, you're overtraining or you're drinking too much or not enough water," things like that. And
Oh
it
wow.
really came down to me demanding an MRI, and that's when we found a massive tumor at the base of my brain.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and it came with a very destructive and gnarly disease called acromegaly, and that's when my whole life would never be the same.
Mhm. So they discovered this tumor. Um, um, that had to be shocking because you spent that much time talking to doctors saying, "Oh, it's just this," and "Oh, it's just that." But you knew and you sensed, I assume, something more was going on. You had to know.
Yes, well, it was actually quite validating.
Hmm.
But the I didn't know the complexity of it or how serious it was, the
Right.
seriousness of it. So at the time of diagnosis, I was just like, I knew it.
You knew, yeah.
But I had no idea the journey that awaited me after
Sure.
that. And so, but validation is all I needed in that moment.
Sure. Sure. You sensed something. Well, so you said the journey, you had no idea what the journey was going to be like. What happened after that? I mean, can you talk a little bit about if you, as much as you feel comfortable talking about that, what did you have to endure once they discovered this tumor?
So I had to go through brain surgery and radiation treatment,
Hmm.
and they couldn't resect the entire tumor. Um, so I have to be on pretty gnarly medications to try to control the tumor and control the disease that the tumor causes.
Mm.
But in true Rissa overachieving mindset, I was like, let's just get the brain surgery done. Let's just get the radiation treatment done so that I can get on with my life. Like I want to get
Sure.
back to my Ironman. I need to get back to my business. Like I had all my plans set in place.
Right.
But my body just kept changing, getting weaker. My cognition was changing.
Hmm.
So when my brain would tell my body to do something, it would either do the opposite thing or not connect.
Oh my.
Like if my brain was typing a sentence on my keyboard, I would look up at my computer screen and it would be all garbled. So
Oh
like there
wow.
was just a disconnect going on with my brain and body. Um, and then the emotional part of it, the grief of what do you mean I'm never going to be the person I always was?
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
I mean, I mean, when that started setting in,
Mm-hmm.
there's a loss there,
Right.
and so, I had to grieve that, and for a long time, I was determined to prove everyone otherwise.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no, that might happen to you, but not me.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll show everyone that I'm gonna get
So
back to where I was.
so kind of a state. I know a little bit about the stages of grief, having been, being a retired priest. But so you were in denial that this was going to have an impact on your life. You were going to fight this, and would you say you were in a way you were in denial at that point?
It probably was denial.
Yeah.
And then part of it was probably just lack of knowledge. I didn't know what I was in for.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I had no idea um what this disease was. There was very little information out there about it, and that's kind of how I got in the work I'm in today with patient advocacy, but there just wasn't information about the disease, the treatment,
Hmm.
medications, none of that. So I just thought, yeah, I'm just gonna get back to my life, and you guys
Sure.
can say all you want what you're
Right.
gonna
Right.
say, but I'm gonna still just do it my way.
S- So, so things were you were having difficulty with different tasks and things like that, but something did happen after the brain surgery. If I'm not wrong, didn't you go on? Didn't you kind of make the determination, hey, I'm going to go on this incredible bike ride?
Yes.
Tell us
So
about that.
yes, this is the fun part.
I know. I can't wait.
So 6 months post brain surgery and following radiation treatment, I really remember I was sitting on my couch again for another day. It just felt like I was living in these gnarly sweatpants that I'd been like they were all worn out and tattered at the bottom. And I really had this live or die moment. And when I talk about it, it sounds over dramatic, but for me, that's what it felt like. It felt like if I sit on this couch for one more day, I feel like I'll die. I
Mm,
need something to live for, and I
sure.
wanted to live. And so that was the day, no exaggeration here, that was the day I signed up for a 1,845-mile bicycle journey from Canada to Mexico.
Oh my
And
gosh. I mean, I knew it was a big bike ride. I didn't know it was almost 2,000 miles. Oh my gosh.
so, yep. And I had 14 months like, I couldn't even walk to the mailbox, but I had 14 months to figure out how I was going to get to that Canadian US border.
Wow. I mean, wow. I can't imagine. You said you could barely walk to the mailbox, but you were going to figure out how you to get to the board. I mean, did it ever cross your mind that, well, how am I going to actually carry this out and ride 2,000 miles?
Um, n- I had moments like that, like, sure.
Okay.
But in that moment, I needed something to live for. And
Yeah,
so my determined mindset kicked in. But it was also a moment of shifting perspective
sure.
because I was grieving, like, oh, I'll never be this person again. But I started asking myself, well, then who can I be?
Oh, that is so profound. I'm
And
jotting that down. I, because it's really an important question for anyone. I can't be who I was, but who can I be? And all I hear is hope in the midst of that question.
yeah.
So anyway, go ahead. You were saying, so who can I be? What happened with that?
Yes, so that really opened me up to I had lived such a rigid lifestyle. Like I told you, but I had my routine. I did everything a certain way. But that day, again, such a profound moment. All I had to do was get off that couch.
Hmm.
And I couldn't go straight to the Canadian border. I couldn't even go straight to my mailbox yet. But I got off the couch. Then I got out of those worn out. gross sweatpants. And then I actually started painting. I didn't even
Oh,
get on
wow.
my bike yet or anything. I started painting um and found inspiration in that, found mindfulness in that. It just took my focus away from what I couldn't do. And suddenly, what I can do is paint. And it was such a
Wow.
peaceful, healing experience. And then eventually, I made it to my mailbox. And then I started biking for 5 minutes in my basement at a time. And so it was really a process
Mm.
over 14 months. And then I remember my first bike ride outside was 8 miles. And that was a moment where I was like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
How am I going to get to that border with my bike and then get down to Mexico? Like I just had no idea. And then it's one thing to go out and ride, 50 miles in a day, but then to do it for 40 days consecutively. Like,
Right.
I mean, I really didn't know how my body was going to respond. And then I was managing all kinds of complex medications and
Mhm.
having to, all the logistics involved with getting to healthcare providers to administer those medications. Like, there was just so much. So I definitely had moments of overwhelm. And then I had this
Mhm.
brain that used to be sharp as anything. I was a wedding and event planner. So it was
Mhm.
just, I was all about details. And now I'm having these cognitive misfires and this fogginess and, from radiation and medications and this kind of, I don't know, like just this kind of cognitive, you know, lapses. So
Right. Right.
so there was just a lot happening. And so, yeah.
Wow. So you went from, so painting became a bridge for you to kind of a healing moment to get you refocused. You were riding your bike in the basement 5 miles. I couldn't do that now. I couldn't do that now. And then, so then you went on a trip 8 miles. Is that right? That was your first ride outside.
Mhm.
Did you just continue to build on that distance and time, or
I
how did that
did.
unfold?
I think in my brain, I thought, okay, and then tomorrow I'll get out and I'll do 10 miles. I didn't know that I was actually going to need to recover for 3 days after that
Oh,
first 8 miles. And you're talking to someone who used to do 65 miles a day for fun. So like,
oh my
so it
goodness.
was really this trying things out. And then if
Mhm.
I biked 3 days in a row, oh my God, that might wipe me out for a week and a half. So I
Sure.
really had to figure out and find what was going to work for me. So yeah, there was a lot of, oh my gosh, moments. What am I doing? Moments.
What, so this is a 14-month um, time frame. During that 14 months, when did you start feeling, yeah, I think I can do this now? And how many, what was that like, and what was some of the things that were going on during that time?
I'd say it was about maybe 4 months before the the ride would start. I think I still was like, how am I going to do this every day
Mhm.
for 6 weeks? Like how because even when you're training or you do this regularly in your life, you still take rest days, right? You
Sure.
still do what your body needs, but I wasn't going to necessarily have that option on this trip. So I still had questions, but my mindset had bounced back. So, like, I was feeling so excited. It was really a moment of, I don't care what it takes. I am doing this ride. Like,
Wow.
I was so determined.
Wow. Risa, you're such an inspiration. I mean, um, so you're approaching 4 months now. Tell us about the lead up a day or two before and what the ride was like.
Oh gosh. That's a great question because
No, wait a minute. Hang on. I'm sure you wrote about this in your book. It's not still the thunder from the book, but are there any highlights of that? And we'll make sure people go read your book so they can read more about it. But were there some like little touch points as you're leading up and during that you'd like to kind of share as a teaser to the book, if that's okay?
oh gosh. There is. So this was what's called a semi-supported tour, and
Hmm.
what that meant was, and I actually the reason I chose it because I thought it would actually be more helpful with because I wasn't sure how my body was going to respond, and I had medications to deal with, and I just thought it would be easier to have a van transporting my gear from town to town, and all I have to do is get on my bike every day. But there were 10 of us. We didn't, we weren't all there as a group. None of us knew each other.
Hmm.
We all had our own reason that we wanted to do this ride. And so the van transported our gear from town to town and we camped every night. But I remember going into the ride, I was very much, and again, I won't give away too much, but it's very much old Rissa. So the idea of nine other people on this trip, I was I was in this mindset of they better leave me alone. This is my journey. I need to focus on me. It's my soul healing opportunity. And I don't want them around me or helping me or feeling bad for me. Like I was just really this independent, kind of like the old Rissa,
Right.
the
Right.
old Rissa. And I'll just say that that changes, as
Oh,
the
I can't
story
wait.
goes in. But it's I can laugh at it now because it's very funny. It's very funny to me that I went in there with that attitude.
But it's funny how we approach things with expectations and then we're surprised in a joyful way. It
Mhm.
sounds like that's what happened. I'm not going to give away the book. It's going on my reading list. I'm telling you, I can't wait. I can't wait. So you had an epiphany on the bike ride, it sounds like, a part of the transformation of Rissa.
Yes, probably a lot of epiphanies. But yes, you know, maybe one of the most important ones is that, like you just said, we kind of go into something with this expectation.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like my life too. I had it all planned out. Like, this is how it's going to be. This is how I have it planned. This is what I expect. And then it doesn't end up that way,
Hmm.
and so much of my life, if something didn't turn out the way I wanted, I was disappointed or
Hmm.
upset, and so I really learned to let go of expectation. And life is way easier when you do. when
Oh
you,
my gosh.
when you kind of let go and trust.
Abs Absolutely. I think we would have been friends had we not met through this podcast because I'm an Excel freak. I am a planner beyond planning, and I've been accused of that. And I get into these things where I'll plan out like we're kind of our financial plan for our retirement, and I've got this plan, but it will work. I know it will because the numbers work and all that stuff as long as everything stays in place. But if I decide I want to do something different, the plan doesn't work, and that freaks me out. The
Mhm.
plan won't work. Now I've got to redo the plan, but the plan looks so good. It's kind of like, the plan looks so good, but you got to let it go sometimes, like you said, and just come up with a new plan
Mhm.
or just be open to what's happening.
Yes, beautifully said. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Thank
absolutely.
you. I don't want to and I say what you feel like you'd like about this. I want to say this and just kind of give the listeners a chance to know. Not only were you dealing with the heartache of a disease that was taking away the Rissa that was, you also had an even deeper emotional, relational loss during that as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, the dissolution of my 18-year marriage.
Mm,
And that actually started dissolving, I'd say about 3 years prior to diagnosis.
okay.
But you hold on to hope, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and but and so what this diagnosis and this bicycle journey um kind of helped give me more perspective.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity to me, and I still wasn't sure going into the bike ride, like what I wanted or what. Um, and so yeah, so there was a lot of crying in the rain on the bike journey.
Imagine.
When it came to um kind of processing through what divorce would mean and
Sure.
look like. So,
As I sit here and I think about that, is it's serious enough to deal with the physical, but now you have the emotional and relational. So now you're getting the double whammy of this transition and rediscovery of who you are. And I don't want to minimize what you accomplished in any way. I think it's amazing. I couldn't even fathom getting in a car for 2,000 miles to go on a trip, although I've done it. I don't like it. But to ride a bike, it sounds like that for some people here say, "Oh, I did a 2,000-mile bike journey from Canada to Mexico after finding the disease." I think the reality is that like any major challenging journey path change, it has the potential, and it sounds like it was for you, to absolutely redefine us and give us maybe by through the accomplishment. It's not just climb. Why does the person climb the mountain? Well, because it was there. Well, maybe the journey gave you the strength to continue. But I think there's a deeper result is, how you are encouraging and inspiring other people to face challenges.
yes, and that was unexpected and by accident. Like, I like I said, I went in, all about me and
Hmm.
this is my journey and all the expectations of how it's going to go um and that's not how it went. And so
Wow.
I never thought of myself as, inspiring other people or that just kind of all started happening by accident.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best way, though, But people say, "I'm going to inspire." Uh, Good luck. But just by being you and facing with courage what you faced and are facing and dealing with, um, you're giving people hope. And if we have hope, we can accomplish anything, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes
Absolutely.
accomplishing is walking from the house to the mailbox.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the goosebumps. I have a chapter about that. Yeah.
Do you really? I,
Uh-huh.
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
and a lot of times, the constraints we feel are often self-imposed, and
Hmm.
it's a matter of us getting out of our own way so that we can
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah. What do you think the former Risa would say if I'm trying to kind of think about this as a reality check. You go separate ways, but you come back, and the old Risa met the new Risa. How would that interaction be?
Oh my gosh, that's an amazing question. Old Rissa still shows up from time to time, and it's funny. I'll even say out loud, I'll be like, "Oh, old Rissa, there you go again." Um, I think old Rissa would be like, "Oh yeah, girl. Like you were always meant to shine, you
Oh,
know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Um, because I think New Rissa, I'm feeling emotional about this, but I think New Rissa was always in there, but she was so rigid and
Hmm.
and we kind of learn these roles as we grow up and all the
Right.
experiences we have through life and Rissa was just kind of kept really well contained and
Hmm.
on some level learned to survive being
Hmm.
well composed and contained and so I think this new Rissa always was there and now was her opportunity to unleash and let go. So
Yeah. I would love to be at the table if I'm just kind of fantasy talking, but for those to overhear that conversation, I'm sure it continues on. But I mean, you could just have this. Wouldn't it be cool to have a movie that the former person that I was and the person that I am now met, and they're like going, "Who do you think you are?" Or, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing! I can't believe it. I knew you were there all along." I love
Mhm.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, wow. So the woman you're becoming, how do you feel about her?
Oh gosh, I continue to. The woman I'm becoming doesn't know anything. The woman I used to be thought she knew everything. So I never want to stop learning. I never want to stop evolving. I just strive to be a better version of myself and a better human every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, she has her hard days. But then there's always an opportunity the next day. The next morning I open my eyes as a new opportunity. Um, so yeah, I
I
don't
love
know.
it.
I'm always excited. I'm
I
always
love it.
excited.
So you took this amazing experience, and I say amazing because I think to devolve devolve to slide into uh, my pastoral role in the tradition I'm a part of. We celebrate annually the hope of new life, but you can't get there without going through some pretty tough times.
Yeah,
If you look at the story of Easter, I always used to say you can't get to Easter Sunday without going through Good Friday or the day, of the crucifixion. And I think a lot of us have gone through moments where we've actually had to die to who we were, and in order for the new of us to be reborn and to be made new. And I
yeah,
think that's just a story of hope. I think it's kind of like part of and in a way, it's a retelling of the scriptural story, regardless of what your faith background is. I still think we all live into that sense of maybe death and resurrection or new life, I guess. And I think
so
yours
true.
is one of those. Yeah.
So true.
So it wasn't enough to hold this, which I think is part of the gift. You've experienced this, but now you have to tell the story. So you've written this amazing book. Did you ever write? I mean, did you ever write before?
I mean, I journaled. I enjoyed
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
But when back on that sofa in those sweatpants, that was a day I decided to live. And so
Mm.
I took out my bucket list and there were all these things on there that I was going to do someday. And here I was, you know, like when was someday going to arrive?
Right.
Never,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
anyways, writing a book was one of those things and this felt like the time and the story. Like I had started writing a book many times and just never finished. And this was it. This was the time. And a lot of people say, "When's your next book coming out?" And I never said I wanted to be an author. I just said I wanted to write a book. So I don't know if the second book will come out. I have, I started writing that before this one was even published,
Mhm.
but it was one of those things I wanted to do. But I never thought it was gonna evolve into what it has.
So Yeah, and I was going to kind of, that's a good segue. So you're writing as if that's not enough, but you're also doing a lot of speaking too. Am I right? Speaking
Yes,
engagements? Can you talk a little
yes,
bit about that?
sure. I did my first TEDx talk last August, and then but I travel around the country speaking mainly at medical conferences. But I got invited to my first well-being conference coming up in June, where I'll be speaking at that. And many of my talks are around mindset and perspective.
Mhm.
Uh, um, and what's possible. I enjoy doing that, and I get to travel, which is one of my favorite things.
Wow.
And so the book really became a platform for that because I remember thinking, remember when I first started speaking, and people were more interested in the bike ride than what I was actually really speaking about. And I
Hmm.
remember at first, again, got to get out of your own way, right?
Right, right.
I was mad. I was like, don't they care about acromegaly or, what I went through and and what's going on in the medical system? And I realized, my story is a vessel. It's my
Absolutely.
story is the, opportunity to share all that. And so once I embraced that,
Hmm.
it all changed.
Hmm.
I've had a lot of fun doing that, and I tend to be more introverted. So being on stage is like a whole new thing for me, but I've gotten much more comfortable with it.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to make sure that in the show notes and everything that we have links to your TEDx talk and to your book and any other video things like that that we can share with folks because I think your story and hearing it from your own words is going to be important too because I think you're right. I think your story and what you went through and the details of that's important. Um, and the disease and what you dealt with, the specifics about the disease is important. But um, I think what gets people transformed, motivated, hopeful, give them courage to do is when they know that it's possible by someone who's actually overcome that. And your honesty about how you lived life before and how you're living life now, I think that's very hopeful. You're giving me hope. Maybe I can quit, put my spreadsheets up.
Oh, thank you for saying that. So,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not perfect by any means, but I do my best, right? I do my
Yeah.
very best every day, and that's all I can do. So,
I think that's all any of us can do. And yeah, I think it was Brene Brown in one of her books. She wrote one time that what would it be like if we actually approached people thinking that they were doing the very best that they can?
mm-hmm. Oh, love that.
Maybe they're not, but what if we thought that they were just, for whatever reason, they're doing the best they can? Maybe, maybe empathy, compassion,
Yeah.
a desire to understand and listen and engage in a respect. I don't know. I feel like I'm singing a Beatles song from the 1960s. But I do think it's true. I think things could change. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Rissa, I'm not going to steal any more of the information in your book. We need people go get her book, The Road Unpaved. This is not a book selling podcast, but I do think her story is important, and I'm so glad that she's telling it. So please get her book and listen to her TED Talk. I'm going to find your TED. Is it out yet? The TEDx yet?
Yes, yes. So it's how a single word can rebuild your life.
Oh, oh, I'm writing that down. How a single word can remake your life. Okay, I love it. Wonderful.
And if you're not a reader, I do have I narrate the audiobook for my book, it's not even that I actually wrote the screenplay for it, so you could wait for the movie to come out as well.
Did
So
you really? Oh, it's interesting that you say that. I actually have a guest who was out recently. If you listen to Faith Phillips, who's also an author, who's actually a screenwriter, and she's got some interest. I need to get this is going to be more than just a podcast. I can see a community of collaborators and friends gathering around. That would be kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
cool. You'd
That
like
would be
her.
very cool.
You and she have a lot in common. That's really cool. That's really
I'll
cool.
look her up.
Yeah,
I'll look
do, and just tell her we'll connect. We'll connect somehow. Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. All right, my friend. Listen, our time's getting close. I usually do something kind of towards the end. I call it the lightning round, but it's really just four real simple questions, just to kind of give my listeners a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And it's nothing major. It's just four little simple questions. Okay, can we try that
Okay.
real quick?
Yes.
Lightning, like lightning, but just real quick. All right. So the
Okay.
first one is a book, quote, or mantra that has sustained you.
Okay. So this is from the book Illusions by Richard Bach. And it's The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. And the quote is just a snippet from a larger piece, but it says, and the one carried in the current said, I am no more Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free if only we dare let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure.
Oh my gosh. That is exactly what you were saying earlier. Just letting go in the current.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for
Goosebumps.
sharing that. I know I get goosebumps. That's great. So, and I want to ask this. Here's the second one. Nice. Thank you for that. Thank you. A small joy that grounded you, or is there a small joy that grounds you now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it really depends on the day, but I just have such a youthful outlook now. So it could be anything from today I'm gonna wear a tutu out and I'm gonna make people smile, um, or um, or it might be dancing in my living room to one of my favorite songs that comes on. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's just really finding these moments to be, I don't want to say childish, but that youthful spirit, like, and
Yeah.
just laugh at it. Like it's, nothing is that big a deal.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, how many of us still play?
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Taking time to play. It's
Hmm.
okay as adults. I think we'd all be a lot better off if we played more. So,
Agreed. Yes.
yeah.
And wear more, and if we wore wore tutus more often, yes.
Tutus. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Mine would have to be blue, but anyway.
Perfect.
Here's another one. A person um, who has had um, a profound impact on your life.
Ugh, yes. This question comes up a lot, and I struggle to answer it.
It's okay.
But I want to say, and I feel a little emotional around this, my child self, my younger self.
Hmm.
I have a very profound moment in my childhood where, I grew up in a very challenging household. And I
Mhm.
remember sitting on the bus, and it was first grade, and I remember exactly what I was wearing. And I got myself dressed and ready for school that day. And I remember sitting on the bus having this knowing of, you got this, girl. Life is going to get better. And I held on to that through life.
Yeah.
And so that's what's coming to mind right now is my
Yeah.
my younger self just persevered through some really hard times.
I think the young Rissa would be very proud of who you've become and who you're becoming. So,
Oh, you're
wow.
making me cry. Thanks.
Yeah. This is a good podcast. I have fun. It's not good because of me. It's because I got great guests like you that come on and share their story. I just get to tell the story and help out.
Well, great
Last,
host, great questions.
oh, thank you. One last question. What's one thing that the illness taught you that you wouldn't trade?
Oh my gosh. One thing that I wouldn't trade.
Hmm.
Oh, I feel like there's so much. Uh, that I feel emotional again. My goodness. I get to do life on my terms.
Oh, I like it. Wow. That is so filled with hope and inspiration. Life on my terms. I think we all desire that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Coming from a disease that could put anyone in a place to never make it to the mailbox, and yet you get to do life on your terms. Man, if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. I'll just tell you. Wow.
Mm.
All right, here's the final question, my friend. You're having coffee with a friend, and they're in their stage of life where they want to make a change, something they've always wanted to do, something that's been in their bucket list, and they've run the numbers. It all makes sense, but there's something keeping them from it for whatever reason. Maybe it's fear of letting go of the career and the title, or maybe it's something else. And they're sitting across from you and they're wondering what to do. What would you tell them?
Oh, well, the first thing that comes to mind, and I don't want to sound morbid here, but I would say picture yourself on your deathbed. What are you going to wish you did that you haven't done?
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
you're sitting there on your deathbed, what
Mhm.
haven't you done that you wish you had?
Yep. That's good. I say to people, I thought that all I ever wanted to do was fly jets growing up since I was first got in an airplane at 15 years old. And I did it. And I'm not going to be the 80 or 90-year-old man sitting on the front porch saying, well, I coulda, because I
Mm,
did.
mhm.
That means more than the doing sometimes.
Oh my gosh. And it's so fun because you still have that giddiness to you. Like whenever you talk about flying, you still have that youthful like giddiness about it. And it's
Yeah.
just lovely to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I could tell you this has been an amazing conversation. We've got to stay in touch.
I would love that. Yes,
I would too.
absolutely.
I would too. Rissa, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. You're amazing. You're such an inspiration, and you've given me hope, and I know your story will continue to give others hope. I can't wait to follow what's going on. And if there's another book, I can't wait to read it too. So I really appreciate you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Eric. Such a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So, dear listeners, I want to uh, thank Rissa again for being a guest on the podcast. And to anyone's listening, thank you for being a part of the NTL community. If this conversation resonated with you, I would just ask that you please subscribe, leave a review or comment. And more than that, please share the episode with a friend who needs to be inspired, who needs some hope right now. You can listen to our podcast, Never Too Late, Real Stories of Reinvention, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube, and just anywhere you can listen to a podcast. I'm trying to get that out there as far as I can. All the links to how you can listen and watch are in the show notes. You'll also have in the show notes links to Rissa's book, her TEDx talk, and several other little links to her website and things where you can see her work and follow her as well. And if today's conversation stirred something new, got an online community link that's in the show notes where you can go in and put any comments and maybe even share your story. I'd love to have you as a guest as well someday. So you're always welcome here. We really appreciate you listening. Because here's the thing, these stories matter. They remind us it's never too late to listen to that quiet nudge, to take a brave step and become who you, like Rissa, were meant to be. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks.